All right. Good morning. What's up, everybody? This is going to be the Great Bitcoin Flipping Space coming in on X. Craig was right. We're going to go ahead and break down the elements that are going to be causing this Bitcoin flipping. And I want you to picture a wave starting to form in the middle of the way out there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. You know, it's not here at the freaking shore right now. It's not outside. We're not on a tidal wave today. It's not Mavericks, but the wave is out there in the ocean. And if you start to kind of follow along with what we're talking about in the community, in the group, you're going to start to see the wave building and the elements of the wave actually forming and building and causing this great Bitcoin flipping. This is going to be a full-on X space, and we're going to go ahead and break it all down. And also, we're going to be rebutting the Max Kaiser lies about BTC being perfect money, not a Ponzi scheme. He put it out there in a recent video with Isa from BTC, and they're just flat out, she's innocent, but Max Kaiser is making bold-faced lies to the world. He knows better, what he's saying. So, not centralized. I mean, everything's not centralized. Everything else is a shitcoin. I mean, come on. It's just hilarious. The lie. It's not hilarious. It's actually just wrong. So, it's not right what he's doing. And at the end of the day, it was Craig who was right. That's who was right, not Max Kaiser. So we're going to go ahead and get started in the space. So I will see you on the inside, and I'll go ahead and start the recording and see you at the top. Well. It's a great day, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. We got the great Bitcoin flipping today. Craig was right. Man, what a freaking time to be alive right now. It's an amazing time because, I'm watching I love following all these troll videos like Hoskinson's giving a speech over there at some conference, and he's over there tapping his chest like he's some big hero. He's going to change the world, make this revolutionary payment system. It's going to be private. It's going to be just the most amazing blockchain of all time. And here he is walking out of the room when Craig Wright gets on stage, front running all the money in Ethereum and forking it off with this Cardano project. I mean, people just don't follow history with what happened. I mean, it's just sad. And then you got the Max Kaiser report that just came out. It wasn't a report; it was a show. Casey sent it to me that was on with Isa, and she's over there talking about how. Well, he says, she's answering 7 questions about, BTC is perfect money. Is BTC a Ponzi scheme? Is BTC this great money? Is it the perfect thing ever? It's just this like 7 elements. I want to rebut some of those today. We'll go through it and ask everybody those one by one, some of the topics as we're going through the great Bitcoin flipping, because it's just really amazing to see that. It's not amazing. It's sad, to see that somebody can get away with a bold-faced lie. I mean, it's one thing to be innocent, and I guess maybe if you're ignorant of the law, like the lady is Issa in the video, she's just ignorant. She's innocent, I guess. Maybe that's okay, but he knows better. He's been around since 2012. He knows that BTC doesn't scale. He knows it's not perfect money. He knows it's a Ponzi scheme. But when he just says lies like that, it's just that right there is malicious. It's just malicious to do that. So we need to rebut that and get the word out there. Also, I want to talk about some of the elements of the great Bitcoin flipping, and I want to just paint the story about the, like imagine that you're here in the Pacific Ocean and you're out. Yeah, I was in Santa Cruz over the Thanksgiving weekend, and so down there looking out over Mavericks, and way out in the distance, actually that would be Half Moon Bay. Way out in the distance over Mavericks is like and a wave just starting to form. It's not at the freaking shore. The wave is not at the shore. The wave is way out there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, maybe around coming off somewhere in Hawaii or something. It's coming in towards Mavericks at the beach, and it's just way out there, a little tiny little pebble out there in the middle of the ocean. But it's coming forward. It's inevitable. It is coming forward. And these elements of the great Bitcoin flipping are true, and they are happening. It's if we will it into existence, because it's just going to be us that the will it into existence. I mean, with the Terra Node coming out, and then also with the wallet standard protocol coming out with Babbage's BRC-100 wallet protocol, stopping the centralization of the wallets. I mean, along with the legal side, with the law coming together, with the Clarity Act, the patents, of course, the patents are all in place right now, and that's another element. The big media press release stuff that could be coming in the next year, 2 years, whenever that stuff is happening. There's a lot of press stuff that will be happening at some point. And then just the constant development into the scaling of Bitcoin, and then eventual just collapse of BTC with the due to the profitability of the chain being more profitable when the transactions increase as we're getting more and more transactions on chain with the longest chain of digital signatures. So I mean, these are some of the elements. I think there's so many more that are going to come about, that are going to come out over time. But I like to paint the picture of like reality, not smoke and mirrors like that I've heard in the past of like these freaking theories that are out there that are just like, okay, well, that's cool, but sounds like a bunch of techno babble. I don't have, I'm not doing any techno babble here. I'm just talking about like what are the elements and how are they playing out. And then I want to be in position to where I had a call yesterday, or what was it? A call yesterday in Santa Cruz with a group of people, and we just went through this, breaking it all down. And I hope that I can inspire people to like build, to learn, to learn the protocol more, to learn and educate themselves more on how BRC 100 works, how the protocol actually works. I hope that I can do that, because if we learn the protocol, then we can actually create a business opportunities. We could be a business owner, we could be a consultant, we can just be a middleman between the developers if we're salespeople and the enterprises. I mean, or at the end of the day, we can just not get caught up in the the end of the hodl cult. We don't want to get hurt by that and have people hurting by the end of the hodl cult, because that's really what's happening. We want to be on the side. At the end of the day, at least we're on the other side and we're not on that side. And hopefully we can bring it together for that reason. So let's see. Okay, Casey, I got you up here. Good morning. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm doing great. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, welcome. Great, great. How to ride the wave. Oh yeah, there's my video from yesterday with the great Bitcoin flipping, and that was the riding the wave. That was cool because I was shot down there in Santa Cruz, and there was a class of students that were like learning about this for the first time, and then I came on the thing at the very end, and then I was able to really talk to them at a pretty high level about these elements. And it's not perfect. Like I don't have some sort of a malicious plan that I'm like, oh, this is the elements, it's going to work, it's going to happen. I'm just like talking from the heart. So I really try to keep it authentic when I do things. I don't talk from a script, I don't read from a statistician, I'm not talking in maths and riddles. I'm just want to just kind of speak from the heart and tell you the authenticity of what's going on. That's what I do in that video, my experience, so, and where we're at. So yeah, it's a pretty exciting time. But you got to really, at the end of the day, you got to realize that we're at Mavericks, but the wave is not breaking tomorrow. And we don't want it to break tomorrow. Dude, if that giant freaking tidal wave breaks on Mavericks surf right now, and we got a 35-foot wave tomorrow, we're all going to get wrecked. We're not ready. We're not. We need to get our act together, get developers. And that's one of the things that I'm pushing right now is developers. We need to have a team of developers. And Bruce's book is so inspirational. If you guys haven't checked it out, the AI, Bitcoin, the AI and Bitcoin are coming together. What's it called, Casey? The AI, Bitcoin.
The AI Bitcoin revolution, building tomorrow's trust infrastructure.
Brilliant. That book is so important. She's somehow like predicting she somehow knows things before they come out. She somehow knew about the Bitcoin ballast. She somehow knew about this company AI, Sonic AI. She somehow knows things before they're coming out. I'm not sure if she's psychic, but I don't know. So either way, it's a really important book on how she's kind of painted the picture on the AI. What we're doing is we're actually putting we're doing what's called intelligence that is, what is it? We're, darn it, what's the word? Manufacture. We're securing intelligence. No, we're what? Anchoring intelligence. That's it. So artificial intelligence. And then what we're doing is we're anchoring intelligence. That's the key word from the book that I really got a huge takeaway from. Anchoring intelligence. So, we're living in an AI world. That's final. We can't ignore that. It's happening. It's already done. Sam, OpenAI, it's happening. They've already killed the guy who put it out there, the poor kid in San Francisco. They murdered him, that was really behind the large language models, kind of like blowing the whistle on it all. And so, but it's over. It's happening. We can't stop it now. So we have to anchor the intelligence now to make sure that it doesn't, take over the world. I don't know, Terminator 2 style or whatever. So we need to anchor intelligence. That's what the book is all about. I think is the big takeaway. But the one thing from the book that's huge is that you're going to learn is like she already knows about like the wallet infrastructure protocol and how these developers are in demand who know about the how to do the wallets and how to do BRC 100, how to build on the protocol. And she shows you in the book about how to do it using an AI system like Claude. She kind of walks you through that. And I'm like, I want to start. I'd like to do it myself, at least to learn a little bit of it. I'm not going to be a dev, but I want to at least try to. I would like to get a service level on it, and so I could see, wow, this is cool. I can use this AI and build something. Because if you're a dev and you actually have a little computer science experience, she shows you how easy it is if you understand the developer world. And we got to get more people up to speed on that. We got to have 50, 100 of those people, like in a community at all times. Because what's happening is that people like Sonic AI, Babbage, in it when this tidal wave when it starts to come to shore, there's going to be so much demand for the developers. Okay, you're going to see, oh, we got 15 developers. That's not even starting. That's not even a begin. That's not even close to being we need to have thousands of them, thousands ready to go. That's how it has to be. And we don't have that right now, so we have to really kind of start a community and build a movement of like developers coming together and being on the same page, learning together, growing together. So I haven't planned this all out or thought out how it's going to work, or even if I'm going to I don't really know yet, but I am starting to brainstorm it with people and starting to really think this through and how it can be done. So it's something that it's going to happen. So Casey, what's up? Want to talk about the Max Kaiser stuff?
Yeah, I think that's a really great 7-minute video that they did to debunk their debunking because it just does not make sense with a lot of the answers that they gave in that video based upon what we know of BSV and what its real utility is. So if you'd like to kick that off, I think it's a good one, good place to start.
Yeah, Elle, do you want to get involved? Okay, what I'll
And
do is in
also,
a minute, you don't have to yet, but you can. So, Casey, what I'm gonna do is can I refer to you as Elle or what? Yeah, I'm gonna get Elle involved too. So we'll bring her up as well. But before I do that, if anybody else wants to kind of jump up on stage and get involved, what I was thinking is we can, feel free to request up. I think I made it to where people can join if I'm following them automatically on stage, I think. But if not, feel free to add them up, Casey, and they can come up. I would love to get the conversation going with the community. That's what it's all about. So
I didn't I didn't see that in the settings. I'll go look again and see if I can change it. But also, is there something in the settings that you can make it to where there's like a chat for the space? Does anybody see
that's going to
the
be
ability to?
I think the only way to do that is on the thread itself, the one that's pinned to my profile.
Okay, well that's what I was gonna say. I welcome everybody in that thread of the space that's pinned to Gavin's profile. You know, something that BTC cannot do is micropayments. And so if we could all just encourage each other to go drop your BSB address in that pinned post on Gavin's page there. If anyone on stage that's speaking says something that you like, I wanted to show Elon in real time how we can start monetizing spaces with micropayments. So go ahead and feel free to post your receive address or your pay mail in that thread there on Gavin's page. And let's start throwing around some micropayments to each other and tipping the speakers and just utilizing the blockchain for what it's meant for. If you guys are open to doing that, you're more than welcome to do so. And also, we have John Wayne in the audience here, and he had a really cool concept with the green cups that he has. The green plastic cup with your name. You can message him, and he can create one of those for you real quick. That has a QR code on it, and you can post that in the thread there too if you want to put it that way instead of the long string of receive address. But yeah, let's play with micropayments today, guys, and show Elon and BTC what they're all about.
People are saying I'm on fire. My latest YouTube video. They're just funny. I mean, I'm sorry for the clickbait titles on some of this stuff. Please forgive me, but with the clickbait titles and the clickbait thumbnails, it does help to drive the traffic. A lot more. So hey, sorry about that. but it's what it is. So Kate knows she's liking it. She's like, yeah. So okay, let's go through some of these things, Casey, that we had with Max. Now there you actually gave me the thread on it. It's pretty crazy. What happened was is that there's a video that this gal called, what was her name? Casey, was it Lizzie or not Lizzie, but
Issa or Isa,
Isa.
I don't know.
Isa
ISA,
on
I don't know how you
BCC.
pronounce it.
That's right. Isa on BTC. Here's the post. I can post it in the thing on the link here, I think. And so Max Kaiser, and then you said, let's go ahead and get the transcript going, right? So, and then here's the first question. Let's just start with this. I want to get maybe I would love to get somebody up on stage. I'll get Elle to come up in a minute, and she's going to help rebut all these questions with us. So, but if anybody else wants to get involved, here's the first question. It says, we're going to debunk all the Bitcoin lies ever said in 9 minutes. And then here we go. Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme. Now they're talking about BTC. BTC is a Ponzi scheme. Somebody tells Max Kaiser this. Now he says, oh, it's not a Ponzi scheme, because, and he has a bunch of techno babble here. Then he says, so if anybody go ahead and Casey, why don't you start? Why is Bitcoin BTC a Ponzi scheme or not a Ponzi scheme?
Well, I just put the thread from the transcript from that video into chat and just, came up with some rebuttals that would sound like if it was Craig, what he would say in response to those points that they made. So the first point, Max said, Bitcoin is not a Ponzi scheme because the 21 million cap. And Max mate, the fixed cap is the least interesting part of Bitcoin. If your argument fits on a coffee mug, you've missed the protocol. A Ponzi isn't defined by issuance, it's defined by promising returns without underlying utility. BTC removed utility deliberately. No script, no scaling, no global layer 1 commerce, just number go up. If anything resembles a Ponzi structure, well, you can finish that thought yourself. So that was the first response there.
Okay.
And then
Who wrote that?
well, I just put into chat if we
Okay.
were keeping it like parody satire, not as an assertion of Craig's identity or authorship or factual claims about who created Bitcoin, just from Craig's point of view, if he were to kind of roast style, tongue in cheek respond to each one of these points. It was just kind of a satirical parody style thread
Maybe.
to kind of go through each one. So that was just kind of um, a
Oh,
starting point for us to kind of go through each one of these points. And if anybody in the audience wants to come up and give their response to each
yeah.
one of them,
I just
feel
added.
free,
I
come
just
on up.
added Bose, Kate, Rodolfo. So if any of you guys want to come up, feel free to. Let me answer the. Let me answer this next one. So here's the next one. It says XRP will replace Bitcoin. Now, what Max Kaiser says is XRP is and everything else is a shitcoin, and the world are centralized, either absolutely or everything relatively centralized to Bitcoin. Therefore, their role as perfect money and perfect decentralization, Bitcoin is not threatened by something that is centralized. All right, so is that correct? I mean, he's saying that BTC is not centralized, therefore it's perfect money, and the Bitcoin core developers don't control or change BTC. Now he keeps referring to it as Bitcoin. That's an improper term, but it is what it is. So, but so yeah, so he says BTC is not centralized, and then XRP is. So I mean, think about that. You got the Bitcoin core developers who change the protocol, who completely control where the direction of the protocol is going right now, and he's saying it's not centralized at all because of that. Is that true? Oh, here we go. I'm gonna bring up Elle as well. She can help. She's gonna freaking not blow your mind on some of these questions. Come over here. Come over here. No, there's no camera. Okay, I'm gonna ask you. Okay. So Max Kaiser answered the question when asked, XRP will replace Bitcoin. And he says, well, XRP and everything else is a shitcoin in the world are all centralized, and absolutely Bitcoin or relatively centralized to Bitcoin. Therefore, their role is perfect money and perfect decentralization. Bitcoin is not threatened by something that is centralized. So your rebuttal.
Well, I would say that centralization really comes down to, or decentralization comes down to protocol ossification. So, you know, when Satoshi said in 2010 that the nature of Bitcoin is such that when version 0.1 was released, the protocol would be set in stone forever, that was really the criteria by which Bitcoin is decentralized, because no central group of developers can come in and mess with the protocol, which is absolutely what has happened within BTC, because, of course, with segregated witness, they broke the chain of digital signatures, which is defined in Section 2 of the white paper as being the definition of an electronic coin. A chain of digital signatures. So when you see fundamental protocol changes like that, that is really what is creating the centralization of Bitcoin. Of course, they talk about, you know, increasing the block size, leading to centralization, because you're going to have a fewer number of nodes keeping a full copy of the blockchain. But that's also dealt with in the white paper, where Satoshi clearly says that it is not necessary for users to run a full network node. So, you know, Max Kaiser is clearly mistaken in his understanding of centralization.
Okay, thank you. That's L. Let me go back to the first question. I want you to answer it, L. Let's go. The first one was, Bitcoin, BTC is a Ponzi. So BTC, they say, is a Ponzi scheme. Max Kaiser says, no, BTC is not a Ponzi scheme. There's an infinite number, or there's a finite number of BTC in the ecosystem. What's your response to that?
Well, he's correct that there's a finite amount of Bitcoin, only 21 million, but that doesn't preclude it from becoming a Ponzi scheme, because, of course, there's an infinite amount of people. Well, not infinite, but, you know, you can potentially bring everybody inside the Ponzi scheme, because you're bringing in more fiat into the system. So he's focusing on the 21 million cap supply, but there's an infinite amount of dollar value that can come into that. And that's where the Ponzi scheme is, because, you know, he's constantly pushing for people to buy more Bitcoin regardless of the price, because, of course, as the price goes up at some point, he will exit. And I don't really understand their whole concept of how Bitcoin is useful. Of course, later he goes on to say that lack of utility is a feature, not a bug. But the truth is that you can always bring more people underneath you. That is the concept of a Ponzi scheme, is that you're bringing more people underneath you to buy into something that has no utility, and then you exit as the bubble increases. And you know, pretty much the definition of a bubble is that nobody knows it's a bubble until it pops. You know, so we don't know when BTC is going to pop as a bubble, but all the indicators are there that, you know, it's a pyramid scheme, that people are being brought in at the bottom. They're offloading dollar value into Bitcoin, and it's been exited by the top by people like Max Kaiser. So, you know, he gives very kind of short responses to these questions, and doesn't really elaborate. But the truth is they can be quite easily dismantled.
Yeah. Bitcoin, he says BTC is used by, they say BTC is used by criminals and illegal activities. Then he responds to that BTC is not used by criminals in scale, fiat is. So how do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, Bitcoin is just a tool, but the truth is with Bitcoin is that they've built increased anonymity into Bitcoin. Bitcoin was designed, obviously, to be triple entry bookkeeping, to facilitate more transparency, to allow authorities to have more agency against criminality. But of course, with segregated witness, where you strip out the chain of digital signatures so that it does not resolve to the Merkle root, and doesn't allow individual peers to evidence or to check that the chain of digital signatures is correct. What that results in, of course, is Lightning Network, which doesn't resolve any of the transactions on chain and creates that layer of anonymity. So, you know, they have facilitated within the protocol changes of Bitcoin a greater opportunity for criminals to operate via Bitcoin. So while it is just a tool, I would argue that they have created more opportunity for criminals on Bitcoin than you would have within true triple entry bookkeeping that you have on the original Bitcoin protocol.
Okay, then the next one is, BTC has no intrinsic value. And then he says, oh, yeah, that's right. It doesn't. It actually, that's what makes it perfect money. So intrinsic value or utility would interfere with the price discovery in every single interaction because either party would have some subjective idea of what the underlying interface with the exchange is because Bitcoin, BTC has no intrinsic value. So he's saying BTC has no intrinsic value. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I like that he's hitting it straight on by saying that it has no intrinsic value. That's amazing because I think most HODL cult members would say that Bitcoin has intrinsic value. But the truth is, perfect money is not valueless money. It is, in fact, commodity money. We've seen different iterations of that going from obviously gold-backed money to the petrodollar and now into data-backed money. That's what Bitcoin is. It is the evolution of computing, meeting the evolution of money. It is the commoditization of data. And that's what gives Bitcoin its utility. So the idea that he's basically saying that utility is, or lack of utility is a feature, not a bug, is pretty incredible, really, especially when you read all of the original writings of Satoshi when he talks about the importance of well, it's there in the name, you know, a bit and a coin. It is the commoditization of data, bit being the smallest commodity of data. So that's its utility. It's its ability to commoditize data and create that scalable reconciliation layer on top of data. You know, that's the whole point of Bitcoin. So to say that it has no utility and that that's a feature is mind-boggling, to be honest.
Okay. So how about this one? He says BTC cannot be hacked. And that's the comment or the question from the speaker. BTC cannot be hacked. And then Max Kaiser talks about how the 2.256 hashing algorithm. Can you talk about how it can't be hacked or can it be hacked?
Well, I think it's a little bit confused because really probably the the greatest opportunity if you did have a quantum computer would be to reverse engineer elliptic curve digital signature algorithm and be able to spend from a Bitcoin address by reverse engineering the algorithm. But in terms of SHA-265, it is unhackable, but I think he's a little bit confused as to how the hashing algorithm works in that sense. I do find it a bit of techno babble, really, because really the weakest point of, if you had quantum computer, you would be generating private keys from Bitcoin addresses and spending Bitcoin.
Yeah,
I guess.
kind of going to the next one. He says quantum computers will destroy and break Bitcoin or BTC. Respond to that.
Well, he says the core technology within the layer, the difficulty adjustment, quantum computing goes up. I mean, that is ridiculous to say that the difficulty rating will increase the quantum computing because, I mean, I have to think a little bit how to unpack that because it doesn't really make sense, anything that he's saying, to be honest, because the difficulty rating obviously adjusts according to the hash rate.
How about this one? BTC is a bubble. He says it's not a bubble. What is your response?
Well, I think I would point people to the University of Texas report, which was written by Professor John Griffin, University of Texas at Austin, where he did an analysis of the relationship between Bitcoin and Tether. The report is called "Is Bitcoin Really Untethered?" And in that, he indicates that the price of Bitcoin, number one, it's traded at the edges, at the margins, and the majority of Bitcoin is hodled. I'm talking about BTC, excuse me. Majority of BTC is hodled, and the price action happens at the margins. Only about 5% of BTC is traded. And he indicates in his report that the price volatility within that is generated, or the price increases is generated by more tether coming into the space. It's not by natural organic growth of more people coming into the space. And he shows in his report that every time the price of Bitcoin organically goes down, most likely because it has no utility as a payment system, the price is artificially increased again via the introduction of additional tether. Now, of course, Tether's meant to be a digital twin of an actual dollar in a bank account, but numerous reports from the Consumer Research Group in America and Bloomberg and all kinds of media outlets have been looking at Tether and shown that there's really nothing to substantiate that they have the reserves that they say they do. So whilst it is true that you can't hyperinflate Bitcoin itself with its 21 million cap supply, there seems to be a lot of opportunity to hyperinflate Tether and use that as a mechanism to inflate it and essentially cause a bubble.
Cause the next bubble. All right, next one was Satoshi owns too much Bitcoin and he can control the price. Then Max Kaiser says Satoshi wallet, nobody has access to the Satoshi wallet, and if it were to dump on the market, it wouldn't matter at this point because it's too big of a bubble at $2 trillion. So, what are your response to that?
Well, it is a controversial topic, but certainly, all the evidence points to the creator of Bitcoin, who we know to be Craig Wright, Dr. Craig S. Wright, having access or being the owner of those coins. And so, I mean, if you were to dump, then it would obviously, I don't think you can dump 20% of Bitcoin, or however much it is, 10%, is it?
Well,
I think 10% of
let's
Bitcoin.
make 10%, yeah.
10%, yeah. I mean, it's not like you can just dump 10%, so it's a theoretical value. But the idea that he says that no one has access to that wallet is, I would say, incorrect.
And why do you believe it's incorrect that Dr. Wright has access to those wallets?
Oh, why do I think that's incorrect? As I said, it's quite a complex subject of who actually has access to it. But, I think that we've seen enough evidence that keys have been signed rather than transactions have been signed, messages have been signed from the original private keys. I think we've seen enough evidence.
Right. Okay, governments are going to ban BTC is the next one. Governments, they're going to ban BTC. What's your
what you meant to respond to Max Kaiser? So
Yeah.
Max Kaiser says governments can only ban themselves from Bitcoin. That's quite funny. We've seen some governments try to Bitcoin like China, but they realized it's like banning themselves from the future. Then they can quickly gain their senses and unban Bitcoin. Instead of banning it, they're now actively mining it in what I call the global hash war. Well, Bitcoin was designed to be money for the people. When Satoshi wrote Commerce on the Internet in the opening gambit of the white paper, he was talking about there being one global chain for all commerce on the Internet. And Bitcoin's not meant to be controversial. It's meant to sit very neatly within existing law. That's why the chain of digital signatures is such an important definition for Bitcoin, because it specifically corresponds to international law regarding the correct transference of a digital asset, what constitutes the legal transference of a digital asset within law. So breaking the digital signature means that Bitcoin is non-compliant in terms of being usable money in a commodity money sense. And so, I think long term, BTC is going to, beside the fact that it doesn't actually function as money because it cannot scale to outpace Visa and MasterCard and other legacy payment systems, with its 5 transactions a second, there's no possible way that it can become an alternate monetary system. So it's a bit of a mute argument, really, because, we're talking about 2 different Bitcoins. Original Bitcoin
Well,
is
we
defined.
refer to it as BTC here, so we can clarify. He's confused. He's obviously confused things. So I'm just going to call it BTC. He says BTC is too volatile to be money or currency.
That's
and then,
correct.
okay, he says, okay, that's correct. Well, he says that's like telling a professional server that the waves are too big. What's your response to that?
Yes, well, the price of Bitcoin does have to stabilize.
Talking BTC or
I'm talking about real Bitcoin. This is the thing, is that which Bitcoin are we talking about? But it's not possible, of course. I mean, it's a moot point because there's no way that the world can onboard to BTC as a currency, because BTC is not a currency; it's a hodl cult. So, I mean, you can't compare it as a monetary system because it's not designed to be a monetary system. It doesn't function as a monetary system. It's not Bitcoin. It's not a monetary system. So, it's a bit hard to relativize that argument because it doesn't correlate. Obviously Bitcoin, its implementation is designed to be money. It's designed to be a medium of exchange, the medium exchange on top of which we can build complex economic systems worldwide. So
yeah. Was there any other questions I missed there, Casey, in the thread that you wanted to ask? I see Kate's joined us as well. Go ahead and ask them if there are.
No, I think you guys did amazing. And Elle, please let us know what your
Yeah,
pay
she's not going to
mail
do that, Casey, but go ahead and continue on.
Oh, okay. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, but anybody else, feel free to jump in if you guys want to put your pay mail or whatever in the thread. We want to do that with micropayments. Absolutely. You saw mine.
Yeah,
You
I
saw
just wanted to
Casey's.
show her some love. That's dropping some
Oh,
knowledge
yeah,
on
she's
us
not going
here.
to
I
do that, Casey,
appreciate
but
it.
no thanks. Yeah. Go ahead, Crypto Kate. Good morning. It's a great day.
Hey guys, so get over it. I'm not going anywhere.
Going
Uh,
somewhere.
yeah, no. So listen, when you start supporting BSV, it's like walking through a house of mirrors, right? So first you had that initial BTC troll attack, and then there's this like intra BSV attack, if that's what it really is. And then you have intelligence agencies threatening you when you thought first you came into this thinking it was a joke. And then they do. And that happened to me. So, it's just really interesting to me what's going on within the community. There's are exciting things coming. Like I was skeptical, first of all, of this Killing Satoshi movie coming out. But now that I'm looking more into it and like the press release and the fact that nobody likes crypto, no one owns BTC. Hollywood has no skin in the game. They're not gonna get this like superstar cast to make a movie that is 1%. No one's going to watch it. So I'm really about that. And I just want to know, what do you guys think of BSV like feuding nonstop? Is it real? Are those trolls? Are they trying to create issues within the community? Are they trying to fractionalize the community? I mean, listen, it's from one hour to the next, my opinion of who I'm skeptical of changes. And, like a few hours ago, I was skeptical of this person. And then right now I'm like, okay, now I'm back. This person's good. You know who I really trust is Kurt. I really trust Kurt. So when Kurt says it to me, I go, okay. And I mean, that's the person I trust. And I mean, there's people trying to sway me this way and that way, and it's just hard to know who to trust. And also, like Casey, like for sure, everyone get on those micropayments. And it's like I posted the other night, like there are whales circling. That's really interesting. They're out there. For one, I wish I could give the $500 back. It's turned into like $500 gate. Um, but some of them will totally drop money on you. They will. I mean, not more than like $1,000 or anything. I mean, in terms of my funding, but like, yeah, they're circling. Like, if they see you need it, like, they will drop money on you. Sort of like, I don't know. For what it's worth, I tried it, got trolled up the wazoo. Bitcoin dictionary, like, don't even get me started right now. But yeah, question: what's with the intra BSV disputes? Is it real? Or is it bad actors posing as BSVers? That's my question.
Well, I would say the gauge of the cult, right? So you got the cult of ball or the hodl cult, they're on that side and they're constantly trying to infiltrate everything because and one of the posts that you read today with Craig Wright that he posted, he says if you're over he compares it to a video game. He's like, you're in a video game and if you're getting hit by the enemy and you're striking into the enemy, you're right over there, or right, you're going right into the target. If you're just, cruising along and nobody gives a shit about you, well, you might want to make a change. But if you're getting attacked nonstop, then the enemy, we know that's right. And I usually gauge Crypto Rebel as a pretty good gauge of the truth on who's who. Or Jameson Lopp is also pretty good. He usually has a pretty accurate read, right? Casey Jameson Lopp. No, I'm kidding. He'll if you're on Jameson Lopp's list, then you're doing something right. But yeah, I would say Crypto Rebel SV. Truth Machine. He's like the most. He's just been the most fierce person, over the last ever since I've seen anybody, just by the book, and he knows the gauge of who's who pretty much the best, I would say. Um, but I mean, how do you respond to that, Casey?
I would say, Kate, you stumbled into the back channel with like all the um, BSV people that have been here for a really long time, and those are just big shit talkers. They're just all having fun, talking shit to each other. I don't really think a lot of it holds, a bunch of weight. It's kind of where I get a lot of my news because a lot of people in there are really posting some of the stuff that's on the front lines of the entire crypto space. But yeah, they're just talking shit, rebel rousing you. A lot of people aren't being super serious with talking. They're trolling to you or whatever in there. It's just how they feel everybody out, and that's what's known as the scammers cartel. They've been around for a long time. It's a lot of the BSV OG people. So I wouldn't take a lot of that, to heart, or even if they talk massive shit to each other, at the end of the day, they're all friends and love each other. It's not like really, attacking of each other, even if it sounds like that. So I think a lot of that's just fun and games and trying to keep it spicy. But
Kate, what are your
outside of
thoughts?
that,
Oh, let her respond. Kate?
it's just outside of that, it's
Yeah, no, it's yeah, for sure. Like that's a sardonic crew, like, and that's a given. Um, but what I'm wondering about is like all these accounts that are like, they're posting all day. BSV is the real Bitcoin. Craig Wright is Satoshi, and people who I think are players and supporters are interacting with those accounts, and then those accounts are attacking newcomers, who are just there to say, like me, like, hey, I'd like to help. And that's
yeah.
where I'm like, what's going on with this? And are these people, I mean, what is going on with this community?
At
Is everyone so traumatized that they're like just going at any new person who pops up, even not saying anything bad about BSV, or are these people planted trolls?
I mean, when you're challenging, third party payment processing systems and making that type of stuff obsolete, you're going to get that kind of stuff because it's just disinformation campaigns, whether it's a real human or a bot. I mean, it's here to stay. So you just have to kind of wade through it and have a thick skin and just ignore, and not necessarily block, but just mute those accounts and just ignore them. That's really the only way to surf through that, in my opinion.
Well, let me just tell you a quick story before I go to Craig Mason. Welcome, my buddy, and also I got Matt Welsh up as well. Before I go to you guys, let me just tell you a quick story that I heard at London Blockchain that from the Bitcoin historian himself, and this is probably kind of off the record, but I'll share what I can. And that was like the full backstory behind the Dark Lord. Like Mr. Gregory Maxwell himself. Like where did this guy really come from? What was his real background? I mean, he specialized in like psychological operations for doing this interweb intercommunication trolling with these bot accounts. Like that's his expertise. He has this incredible backstory about his back, like what he really specializes in creating this disinformation campaigns on the internet, through Reddit, Twitter, these other platforms that he really became an expert in. And I mean, Kurt does such a good job at creating all the history on all this. Somehow he digs all this up from his background in cybersecurity. He knows this information because he was hired to to look into these people, I guess, before all this stuff with Bitcoin. I mean, he just had he had access to this information, so that's why he's been so accurate about the history of things. And yeah, I mean, it really comes from, I think, from that source, because that's why he's the Dark Lord. You know, he's got to have all these bots controlling the narrative as much as he possibly can, and you know, from foreign countries. So, but I'm sure that they never affected people like old Craig, so I'm sure it never bothered him. Craig, what's up with the coping? Talk to me.
Oh yeah, I'm coping for sure. I mean, yeah, those are all good questions, Kate, and I'm glad we're friends again, Kate. Thanks for unblocking me. I appreciate that. But yeah,
For sure.
right on. But yeah, that's like Casey. I think you explained it really well. That's kind of how BSV is. You know, a lot of it's just trolling and good fun.